Georgia. Georgia Planning Commission, Tuesday, May 23rd at 6:37. Do you have anything to add to the agenda?
No.
No, okay. So first up is the quote from Northwest Regional. Talk to any, I don't know what they're called, private consultants or?
Yes. So the vet, so I talked to two of them. Everybody pretty much charges the same, so it's by. Yeah, it's typically by the hour and how much time and they put in and how many public meetings that they do. So really, the best way to handle it with them is to give them a budget and then see which one will do what for the budget. So if we go with out of the same amount of money to all of them, we'll see what each one can come back with and do, but they're all pretty much in the same ballpark. And that's typically what they do. So you get a grant, you get the grant money and that's all you have. They'll build a program around the grant money. So,
That's what Northwest is.
right. So, and they're all in the same price ranges Northwest. So nobody's. The difference that I've seen is that a lot of the private companies, it doesn't look like a instruction manual when they're done. They're laid out much better graphically. They're much easier to read. They're better presented. So.
And also we have the issue with Northwest saying they don't really have a lot of time, so they're
Right.
fitting us in around a full
So-
schedule.
What are the hourly rates for those two other companies? When you said they're comparable, what
I
are their quotes?
have not gotten quotes from them yet. I would recommend doing is to ask the select board for a budget amount, and then we'll get bids based upon that budget amount to see what they can do for that budget amount. That would be my recommendation,
But how do we know there's some comparable price if we don't have the rates?
because in talking to them, I was getting around the same rates package, what they will do for that budget amount. The same way I conduct my business for stuff, it's you kind of give me a budget and I can tell you what we can do. It's time and materials.
So then their
So-
budget is around $5,000 for that scope of work?
Well, if you're only gonna do data, but we need a town plan, not data. So if we're gonna do data, typically you're gonna be somewhere
Well,
around,
the data's only like 38, and then there's another 1,000. So,
right, a typical town.
And this whole
plan-
thing is the data, right?
Right, the typical town plan is around 30,000 for most of them is what they would say was typical, so. Some, you wanna do more, they'll do, typically, if you do more than 30,000, you're getting more public engagement, so they'll come out and do. More with the public. So it really depends on what,
So you're
So
asking
then-
specifically in that ballpark?
So that's
What-
for the full rewrite, not what we're looking to do. So if Northwestern want to do a full rewrite for us, it'd be around 30,000 and all the other two companies. I'm just trying to get like hard numbers or as close to hard numbers. Being in the same ballpark is fine, but what's the ballpark?
I think she said when she was here last week, about 5,000 for this, which it came in at,
For the other
and then
two.
another 20, so.
she was
25 total.
25 to 30 as well, when I talked to
Right.
Greta.
So the other two companies are 25.
They're all in this, around the same ballpark numbers. But that's why I'm saying what I would do is recommend going out with a budget number and getting proposals from them for that budget, and they'll come back and tell us what they can do for that budget, and we can kind of compare each of them to see what their proposals are for a full rewrite, which is, we need a full rewrite.
and then it's possible that we just spend around 5,000 this year and apply for the grant. She said the grants, she expects to be issued earlier next year. This year they were issued in April. So, you know,
Yeah, but you're really hoping on that that's gonna happen.
I know, but
And I don't know if you can't apply for the grant and apply the grant to what we already would have in billing too. That would-
well, I don't think we can use it for this
Retroactive.
year's expenses, but I'm just saying if we possibly next year's expenses. I guess we can check with Greta on that, right? If there's towns that have
Well,
already,
then, It really, yeah, we'd have to look at how the grants, how the grant is written and how it's covered. So,
Are we in a hurry to get the data part done, or are we in a position where we can say, okay, let's hold on this? Let's get prices from
We
Northwest and two others and.
we can't wait until next year to do it all. 'cause
Right.
we want to. And the data sort of is the starting point.
And if Northwest does the data, I mean, this is right, this seems like it's what we expect. We expected cost wise for the data. If we go to Northwest for the data, does that give us
well,
a disadvantage with the other two where?
there's a
Using those
conversation
sources,
of the data was any good from last time. That was
I know.
part of that
It
conversation.
might be interesting to see what somebody else comes up with for data.
Hmm.
But still, I think Northwest always pulls from the same sources and other companies may tie in other things, I don't understand what the coordinating, 2 to 3 meetings of coordinating is, but we can figure that out. And we don't have 5-hour meetings or 7.5-hour meetings, so maybe some of that is they do afterwards, but
There's also a possibility of trying to set up a meeting with Tate Brooks and Alex Farrell, who we went to the Richford meeting. They had a roundtable discussion with all the legislators up there. We can have everything built, like water, sewer, there's money, there's millions of dollars for everything right now. And they're just looking for shovel-ready projects, basically, I think, to get it going. The problem is, without a town plan or a town village, village center or whatever, we have no access to that. So I had some conversations with those guys to see if there's any way around. We're trying to set up a meeting with them to see if, get them to hear in front of the boards and see if we can get a discussion going, or if there's a way to kind of bypass some of this. And they want economic development, but then they're telling us they don't have a village designation.
because you don't
so
have the
can't
right
get it.
word in your town
Right.
plan, even though one person told us we did, and then somebody else decided we didn't,
So. But there's a lot of money.
But we have to get it properly into the town plan before we can.
at this point.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah.
And there might be some money there for the town plan too, when I talk to them again, there might be some other monies there that we could tap into for that, besides from the grant. So, but it seems to, there's all sorts of municipal money, and every department head from the cabinet was there, and they all had their own piece of the pie of money they were telling us about that you could access, which is pretty incredible.
So. I don't think it's our job to figure out where this is gonna come from in the budget, but. What are we gonna ask the select board for? This $5,000 or some other number?
You know, raise our permit fees.
We already have.
Sounds like we need to ask for 30,000.
Not this year,
Not this
because we're not gonna spend 30,000 this year, so there'll be a new budget for next year. I think I was hearing from you that you don't think this is enough to do this year. Is that what you're saying, or
No, I just wanted to know what the comparable prices were.
no?
Didn't get a number for that, just they were. Big.
It depends how fast you move. I mean, if you ask for. If you go ahead and ask the select board for 30,000 this year, and if they approve that, we can get a company on board, you might be able to start the whole project this year. And be working towards getting it approved much sooner, which would be to the benefit of. Getting us the extra, maybe getting us a line for, but.
And that doesn't make it any tougher to get the grant.
Well, he's just saying, forget the grant, go for the whole thing this year.
I mean, the grant is iffy anyways, you're not guaranteed the grant, from what I was told, so it's.
I think it's
We're not guaranteed
I
for
think
any
you got a
grant
pretty
money
good-
line, so.
pretty good shot at it, though.
If we did get a grant, what would we expect that to be?
I think it was 15,000 was the.
We could have applied for 30, the select board approved 15.
So do we ask the select board for 15,000 this year and 15,000 next year and maybe get the grant for 15,000 instead?
Well,
There's a match with the grant. The town has to match the grant.
Doug's theory is that we should push this faster so that we can get our village designation so that we can apply for some extra ARPA
Mhm.
funding. The catch with that is the only place they're gonna find that much money is through the ARPA money, which I feel like it's just been weaseled away and without too much, we overspent on the town garage, we got extra costs on the gate, we gotta, and we're just using it for stuff that wasn't budgeted well, not really something to move our town forward. So, that's my dilemma is if we ask for all the money, I really don't think they're gonna squeeze the budget. I mean, just last night at the meeting, Todd overspent on flags by thousands of dollars, and it's like flags. So I don't think that extra money in the budget.
Split the difference and do the base and maybe a couple extra things and not do the full Monty, but not do the bare minimum either. Thoughts, Tony?
There's that whole gray area, like if we're working with somebody in December and they bill us in January. That would get rolled into the next calendar year, next budget. So. We could do this much plus whatever, just not ask for help until December, so that it actually gets billed in January. Not like that never happens. They'll buy us a little extra.
And that probably would work, because more than likely, you're not gonna be able to finish it this year, it's gonna take.
I don't think
3 or 4 months to get it, to go through the approval process right there, so. By the time you get it started, written, you're gonna probably be into, first quarter of next year before you're.
I feel like a
finalized.
lot of the meat and potatoes, we can do ourselves. Not how we normally do it, but I think we can do it. And, there are a lot of other towns that have rewritten theirs in the last year that we can look and see how they incorporated Act 171 into their town plan. Everybody had to put it in, so, some of those things that she said were our weak points, we could have that guy, whatever his name is, in our minutes, come and talk to us about housing, right?
Oh,
Things
yeah.
like that, we don't need somebody sitting here holding their hand for that, so. I think doing this and working on the things that we know are missing ourselves, we can do. And then be ready for some guidance in January, for December, January. What do you think?
Sounds good.
You've never done this.
No.
All new to you. So I'll ask the select board for $5,000. And then have to look for. Talk to some of the other people. Somebody said Corey Parent does it.
Yeah, I gotta find, I forget what his marketing firm is, but I'll find it. I think Greg mentioned that. I have a list of that. One of the
I know
CAs I
you-
talked to sent me a list of like
Good,
10
I
or
mentioned
15 different
somebody.
places that. do
Yeah,
this.
so there's a bunch of them out there. I just think that some of them would have more time and like you said, it would give us a different look instead of the. You know, the way Northwest has always done it. So does somebody want to make a motion to pass the select board for $5,000 and
And what's the scope of work that you want? You want to match what's on this scope? So you want just data collection or you want?
well, aren't we gonna go with $5,000 to these people and say, we want data collection and whatever else you can do for us for $5,000 between now and December?
Yeah, that's what I'm, yeah. that's what I'm looking-
Something along that line.
Something we can write a scope of work that we'll send out.
And you can even provide them that list from Greta that are our strong points and our weak points, right? So they have some idea what we need to focus on.
Well, I think you wanna, I mean, she's not doing that here in this budget for, they're just looking. at
I know
data,
she's not,
so.
but I'm just saying if they can do more than just data. Those are the things that we are gonna need to focus on, you know, our weak points. I don't care, whatever. Somebody wanna make a motion that we ask the select board to try and find $5,000?
You wanna just bump it up to, I know five's a nice number, but maybe six, just to,
That's fine.
I
with
mean,
me.
it's pennies at that point. but-
Yep, and the budget is,
So I make a
it's
motion.
those extra flags, damn it.
Make it like a car sale, $49.99.
Yeah.
$5,999.
All right,
I make a motion that we request the select board to approve a budget of $6,000, to start the town plan update.
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. See what we get.
No, put down, Jared.
Okay, now Georgia road and driveway policies.
Yes.
This is a fun read. Especially with-
You did a motion in a second. That was gonna be great. That was good.
What are we looking at here?
It's a new document where we're combining what seems like hundreds of old documents.
Okay.
As you can tell
'Cause
by
there's
the
two.
way it's written, oh, and then the very last one, when you get to the way end, the short one that's only a few pages long,
Yeah,
is what we recently approved. So that little section has been okayed by the select board. But
And
that's just a little mini version, which will get incorporated into the big version.
I think that'll be a-
Next thing.
I did. Is that right? Is there another thing?
Yeah.
Or did that one?
Yeah. It's not bad once you get used to it. It is a lot of times.
Okay, so we're on town and for rotary driveways now.
Yes,
So
so,
what we've done here is we've reformatted this. We're pulling, the documents were created in Word, which can't make good changes to, so we have publisher as well, so I've built in some publishers so you can manipulate these really quickly and move things around, so it'll be a lot easier when you.
so are all the road documents incorporated in this?
Not yet,
Not
we're
yet.
still
That's what I
waiting
thought.
for attorney review on the last few. So if you look at 12, 13, and 14, the motor vehicle.
Oh, yeah, I saw that,
Yeah.
okay.
So all of that, Sidewalks are kind of done, they're rough.
Yeah,
So I have a couple of general comments. One is select board, 2 words, select board, 1 word. Board of select men, that
Oh,
definitely
that-
is over and over again, but I'd like it to be all the same throughout. Select board or select board.
And
And then,
merging all of these documents has been really
Yeah.
fun, especially some of the documents that were last approved in the early 2000s. So what would you prefer, a select board, 2 words, select board, 1 word? And we're not even gonna talk about the third.
I like 1 word,
Gotcha, okay, I'll make sure that it's consistent throughout.
and then the other one is public works director, road foreman, road commissioner, town road commissioner, and Georgia road commissioner.
so they're.
And I
try to
know
catch all.
all the same person necessarily, but it should say public works or, you know,
It
I
also
mean,
be public works
someday there
director,
may,
right?
right now,
Right.
but someday he may have a road foreman working under him, right? So
Good.
you might want to put the or road foreman in the case, in some of the cases, but definitely you've got too many titles. The road commissioner had like 3 different versions.
Yeah, like I said, we haven't really we massaged a couple of them as I went through them, but most of these, it was just
Okay,
the
I just
reformatting side.
wanted
from
to
the
make
other
sure that
documents
part
were pulled
got
together,
fixed
so.
it eventually. So in the very first paragraph, it says guidelines for building, maintenance, naming, and classification of all town and private roads, driveways, and sidewalks. So this is not gonna pertain to private sidewalk. Right? Just town sidewalks or public sidewalk. Like, does this pertain to sidewalk that somebody built around their store? We don't issue guidelines for sidewalks around stores. Or banks or, you know,
You issued guidelines for sidewalks like in Dunaway.
the connect, yeah, but those are on the road.
but
Or
they're on a
connect,
private
like,
road.
we told Dollar General that they had to have a sidewalk that connected from their store out to the one that goes along the road. But we didn't tell them what they had to put around their store.
No, but like Dunaway, that's all on private road.
Yeah, but those are on roads. I'm talking about around buildings, I guess. Like, I don't know how you differentiate, but when the state measures sidewalks, they measure every sidewalk anywhere, and there's a whole lot that really have nothing to do with the town of Georgia. So I don't know, I think we need a word in there, but I don't know what that is, or some other way to phrase the sidewalks.
And this is in what?
It's in 1-1, the very first purpose paragraph. And then quite a few of these, you can tell it was like, this is when we wrote this, we're gonna tell you. And now that it's been written for years, we can take some of that wording out. So on 2-1, it says, the Georgia Select Board established this winter operations. How about just winter operations, blah, 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 you know, we don't need to know why they established. At least take out the word this and just say established winter operations. To clearly state the priorities, blah, blah, blah. And then I feel like 2-4 and 2-5 should be swapped. Because we're still talking about clearing roads, then we switch to class 4 and private, and then we go back to how we clear the roads in priority. Just to get those, so they're flowing better. 2-8 says there will be no winter maintenance between the hours of 10 PM and 3 AM except for freezing rain, high wind, and major snowstorms. Probably need to add or in case emergency services need assistance, because they do go out for that. Right?
Yeah.
I know they do. I was trying to get home one New Year's Eve and Ballard Road was actually so icy that cars were all stuck on Ballard Road. Like a whole line of cars could not go anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody called, well, this was Webster at the time, and he said, we've got a truck driver that can't even get to the truck. He was called for another accident and he can't get his car to the town garage, but we're working on it. I know they go out, you know, like if an ambulance couldn't get somewhere, they'd go out for it, right? And then section 3.
You have some questions in that.
Oh, in 3?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, in 3.11, it says, will not pay out claims if the town is not found legally responsible. Who's determining that? So the insurance, but then in 3.22, it just states the town will not pay for anything. So which is it? Is it both? And then who determines legal responsibility? Who makes that determination should probably be.
This, I believe, is a currently approved document on the website.
I feel like about half the lines in this could be taken out and it could be put in a better order. So if 3.3.1 was the first line, town of Georgia doesn't have a Bear Road policy. And then 3.3.2, salt will be applied to most paved roads, blah, blah, blah. And then 3.2.2, sand will be applied to gravel roads. Now we're kind of going.
And I
in-
don't think they're even using sand anymore. I think they're using mostly salt with a little sand now. So I think they've completely changed.
Well,
It's
so
kind
we-
of on my
well,
thought.
You know, at least put those in order,
Yeah.
and if Todd wants to take some of it out or whatever, and then
I mean, that's addressed in 3.2.
3.1.1, which is about claims for damages from salt and sand. And then 3.2.1, which is you can take a little bit of sand from the pile. And all those other headings and whatever, that don't even need to be in there, it all belongs together, salt and sand.
Yeah, no, it is the way they had it formatted in the other document, so.
All right, parking. Didn't have any comments on this, I just wish they'd enforce it. I have a neighbor, he uses the road all the time. Anybody got any comments on parking? In section 5.7 needs to be changed to 15 feet, because later on, we say 15 feet. And that's what the fire chief decided on, I think, or latest update.
That must probably be a shall. Shalls are more
Yeah,
enforceable
probably
than
should be,
musts.
tree limbs shall be removed. That's I think. Oh, and then. Sometimes we use bullets, and sometimes we don't, so I don't know if. 5.16 should all be numbered like everything else, or you want to leave it bullets? There's more bullets later on, but. Most of the time, we're just numbering. Make it standard. I don't know what design standard for treated gutters is, but is that a road document? Or is it misspelled, or
Which one you?
D3, design standard for treated gutters?
516, the last bullet.
Yeah, it's, I guess I would copy and pasted it out of the approved document, so.
Looks like, yeah, there's some also kind of
I just,
grammars or editing as we have feet with the comma and then feet spelled out. I'm sure that's mixed and matched all through.
Okay, so that is actually the right document. D3 is design standard for treated gutters, but that's a gutter on a roof, so I have no idea why it belongs in that section. Because this section is road construction and improvements. So maybe there's a different document that should be in there. I don't even know about the head walls one. Why is that one in there? So some of these maybe were not supposed to be in there or under drained. Okay, I haven't looked at all of them. There's some that don't belong in there. You'll have to ask Todd what exactly it has to do with roads, but under drains, head walls and gutters probably don't. Let's see. 6.2, I think could just be eliminated. Again, you know, why have a title halfway through a title section? 6.2.11. Language outlining the construction and maintenance of the shared portion of the driveway shall be included in the said deeds, I think, because we just talked about deeds up above. And then I have no idea why that other garbage line is in there, town of Georgia private road and driveway policy, blah, blah, blah. I think that is, or was that a note? I'm not sure.
There's an extra 2 hanging on there too.
Yeah,
I think it's all. From that.
From a title, maybe.
I think that can go. 6215. Driveway is greater than 400 feet wide, shall pull on. That's feet, and it's a full feet. Oh, you just need standard at the end. It says meet the required B71 driveway, and it should say standards probably.
So we want a 30-foot apron on all private driveways.
On anything that intersects a road now. That's what the fire chief asked for, so they can turn in, because so many people are making them literally 12 feet wide with no apron. Then they can't turn if it's a weird angle. 7.1.11. We probably should say all dead end private roads, because some private roads actually loop, right? Or they have the potential to. And it also says. All private roads in a development. So if you have a private road but not a development, you don't have to have a cul-de-sac. How about all dead-end private roads will require a cul-de-sac? This one was interesting. 8.5. Most things you have to get approved by the select board, but this one you have to get approved by the planning commission and the select board. But I think the planning commission maybe is supposed to be the DRB now. And then in traffic control,
They just did that one, so that's just the select board.
okay,
Because we just
And that's
did a class
fine.
4 road upgrade to the select board approved, so.
that's fine.
Did they drop the 1,000-foot limit on the private road?
In a roundabout way, yes. So section 9 is one of the sections that has bullets instead of numbers. And if you go to 9.3, the last bullet. There's some extra garbage at the end of that. So the applicant shall be responsible for the original and replacement costs of approved signs unless said costs are waived by the select board. Period, and then gobbledygook.
Kind of circling back to 7.113. No road or driveway construction shall take place within the town right away without required DRB select board and or road commissioner. So do we not know who's approving it? Should it be all three? If
There's
it's
a
just
form
you-
for that, right?
Yeah, the
So we
road,
should-
the road commissioner, public works director is the one that handles any construction of the town right away. The select board could also approve that. Not sure the DRB can.
They have to be part of a
The
decision.
DRB is also looking at that and they're approving some of the elements of the development as well, so. Yeah, it
So-
could be any of the three that are actually doing that, I guess.
Should we be referencing the town of Georgia application for town road access right of way permit? Which we do in another section of this? We must have referenced it in the driveway section, but not the road section, maybe.
So usually they do that document. Or like a single family dwelling, when we do if they're doing a development. It's part of the decision, for the DRB and the development,
Right,
so Todd just goes out and checks it, they don't do that for them,
okay.
so that's, I think, why
Oh,
it's.
that's why it's not under the
not-
road.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Okay. So 10.1 needs some help, but I don't even know how to start.
so. Some of this just got updated, the street signs. Some of the street naming did too, it was just, they just passed it last night.
They pass that document.
Yeah, they passed the document, it's, well,
Does it
the
have
form, but
instruction or?
that's part of the street naming. How they go about doing it, and then it also includes the sign specs on it. Which are gonna get added to 11.
Yeah. So that first paragraph, I'm not really sure how much of that to keep, but let's just keep the last sentence, which says it is believed that easily locatable addresses will have a number of beneficial results, including enabling emergency services to arrive at a scene faster. I don't think deliveries will be easier to find, but deliveries will be easier to make. And visitors to our town will be able to find an address and know where they are in case of an emergency. But the rest of it is like, this is why we made this, and we assigned a board, well, that was 150 years ago, back when we had a board of selectmen. But then,
So, yeah, when we move forward on this, we're gonna have to have a list of all those documents that they need to rescind when they replace. It with
Yes,
this too.
yes. And the ones that are ordinances have to be rescinded differently than.
Right, exactly, yeah, we're all over the place.
All right, so then. In 10.2.1, again, it references the special committee, which does not exist and hasn't for 100 years. And we shouldn't say all new development must meet guidelines of this ordinance because it's going to be a policy.
3.1, All structures in the town of Georgia instead of will, it should be shall.
The section 10.22, I'd say that's outdated. I've never heard of sending a street name to the Historical Society
That's-
recommendation, so
Yeah, that's in like a couple policies,
Yeah.
actually.
that needs to go.
If it's not a private road, but if it's a public road, the Historical Society had naming rights.
Well, maybe we can do that for public roads, but we haven't done it for many years. It needs to be cleaned up anyway, because
Yeah.
again, it refers to the Board of Selectmen. 10.3.3. Oh, first line, if in the opinion of the designated official, the driveway location approved under subdivision cannot be used due to physical, the word due is missing after used. And then 10.3.4, we have tax maps and we do not have listers. So perhaps that line needs to disappear. This is pre-tax map when they wrote this document. And then 10.3.5, the title of the application has changed now anyway, I think, but it says on here, second line, board with town of Georgia stream naming should be street. But
Well, what,
that's the new document that just got approved last night, is that right, Doug? The street naming document
The street naming document, yes.
or application
It's
says,
an application, yeah, it's an
Okay.
application.
and is there still a fee? Or is there no fee?
I gotta go back and read how they approved it, so.
Well, they took out the $500 because you told them it was illegal.
Yeah, that's so, yeah. So the street naming, we were gonna try to do $500 and then include a sign. But we can't do that. So that was what we were trying to do. But under the advice of lawyers, we can't do that. So it still needs a fee, but it needs to just be the fee will reduce the fee, but I mean, it still has.
Sign.
The problem is that if you do a search on trying to get that sign, people are just buying the cheapest thing out there, so it
Yep.
doesn't meet the regulations. So when all the signs got stolen in town recently, all the new signs most of the new signs don't meet the regulations. Because they're costly, they're not, you can't buy them for $50, you gotta pay $300-400 for them, and people aren't doing that, so. That's gonna be so I wrote the standard on what is acceptable for the signs and all the guidelines for the signs, but. That it's a tough situation.
So in that same paragraph, 10.3.5, development, the word development in development review board is misspelled. Then there's the Board of Selectmen again, 4.1. This is another paragraph that doesn't read well. Numbering should increase from the identified being point. I think that should say beginning point of the road. And generally increase from south to north and east to west. Odd numbers shall be assigned to the left side of the road and even numbers to the right side.
And honestly, we can just replace that with E911 standards.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's fine. And then there's all these examples. So the example in 10.4.2, you calculate, it's a left-hand sider, so it should be an odd number. It says 285 for an odd number on the left-hand side, so the address is 284. Incorrect. 285, you just told us it was 285. And 10-4-3, this is one that just killed me, I couldn't even get what they were talking about. All numbers shall be established based on front entrance, from the front entrance from the street. And or the center of the driveway, or in some cases, the center of the structure. Let's remove that. Because we have 100 examples of all the other options down below. Ten, four, four. Talks about the number that needs to be on your house or near your house. And we're asking for those E911 signs. So we should say that the signs need to have retro reflective numbers. Because that's what those E911 signs are. It can be in whatever color they want. So then, there are examples. 10-5-1.
And I don't. Honestly, I'm not sure if you want all this information.
Do we need it?
I
Because
don't
of
know
weight.
if we really need it, like,
Well, it is, you know, if you have apartments, do you give them each a street number? Or do you give
they have,
them
there's, it's all
E911
laid,
covers all
yeah,
that?
it's all laid out and you do all the numbering.
So all these things are covered by
Yeah,
E911.
it's all.
Okay, then we can just put in the language about E911. And not have this, but it's still gonna tell them in this document how to number their stuff, or you're gonna.
Well, The 911 coordinator is the one who's supposed to be responsible for numbering it, and then we send all that information off to 911, and they take a look at it all, and they come back and tell you if there's something off or not, so there's like a
Okay.
multi-step process to the whole thing, so.
All right, so we'll take all that section 10-5 right out.
I mean, I'm guessing they did this maybe right at the beginning.
I
of
think
911.
10-4-6 can also be taken out because it says
Still some
we're
apartments in
reserving numbers for future growth. Well, unless you're building a house on top of another house, they'd never have the same number anyway.
Right.
All right, we're all the way up to street signs.
Yeah, there is new street sign information.
And that, yeah, it's gonna get updated. We should keep the vandalism part in there. And this enforcement and penalties. We talked about signs before. Can this section 11 be added to? Where were we talking about?
I think it's there, so that was closer to the street naming, but
Oh,
instead of the traffic control signs.
gotcha, because it really I mean, when you're talking about stealing signs, you're talking about both traffic control and street
Yeah.
signs, so maybe just make that clear. Because it says street signs in,
Yeah, that, actually, we could have that on the other one too. And we could relabel this private road street signs, because really that's the information there for that, because otherwise. The public works director is doing all the other signs, so he knows what he needs to get.
oh, like section 10, you're talking about private street name.
Right,
Yeah,
but the street signs are for really to the private roads, so that they know what street sign they can get.
yes. But
So-
section 11 could go up with
Right,
other
with
signs.
10, and then we could just make, if you left 11, you could make it private road street signs.
No, this is, section 11 is about. Oh, I was talking about the ceiling signs.
Oh, yeah, that's a
Which
good
is
sign.
the bulk of 11. There's one little paragraph in 11 that's about private signs, but. The bulk of it belongs up where you're talking about stop signs and. You know, whatever section that is, quite a ways back. Traffic control devices 9,
Right, and if they steal a private road sign, we have,
right,
that goes to them, that's the, like. We can enforce a penalty on that. It's like our insurance doesn't cover it.
so there is a town of Georgia application for town road access right away permit. Is there
The
a form
new-
for that?
The new form, yes, there is a new form.
Is
They're
there,
actually separated, there's. What was it? Read that one again?
this is the whole title of
Yeah.
one document. Town of Georgia application for town road access right of way permit.
Right.
So you can put a culvert in or something,
Or they're working in the right of way, they're digging under the road,
yeah,
you put all new fees in place for all of
so
that.
there is a form. for that.
There's a whole
Okay.
new one for that.
Is there a form called request for traffic control device?
Not that there might be one that Todd has, but there's not.
It's
one that I've
referenced in
seen.
this document.
Yeah, there could be.
I found it funny that it says you just fill one out and the select board will act on it, and all these people wanted they want a no dumping sign, so it's like, they didn't fill out their request form, that's why they didn't get it. And then the other one, I think, has been renamed, but the other one that's referred to is the town of Georgia street naming application and fee. Is what they did last
That's
night.
what they did last night, and then we separated out the driveway. From the right of way, because that was kind of confusing before. So if somebody's putting a driveway in. Then has a different standard for that than the right of way document, because the right of way document now has a. You have to put $5,000 in escrow and everything else, but the driveway one is just, he's gonna have to inspect it after it's done, and then he looks at the curb pad, Bruce the curb pad, so it's separated. Because everybody was confused when they came in, looking at them.
Okay,
So with the standard mentioned, I know they're attached, I don't know how often the V-Trans updates them, but language could be like A76 amended from time to time and not necessarily have to include that, because then we're locked into what we approve here versus the most current. Say this document doesn't change for 10 years, but the standards change.
could just say A76 current version or whatever, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Something like that. So. The new document that you tacked on to the end here, is that language has or has not been embedded in the big document?
Which one?
You know, the one that the select board just approved, town of Georgia private road and driveway policy from
I
April?
believe, I don't think that one has been there, right?
No.
I don't think
Yeah,
so
this
either.
We haven't incorporated that one,
Okay,
but that would need.
it
to be
looks like a
added.
few of the things have been put in, but maybe not all of it.
That would need to be added to that document, so you have one document. basically.
Yes, yeah, well, that was the idea that they would just have a much longer document. I did not see the mailbox document, which there's a separate policy about mailbox.
Yeah, the
replacement.
mailbox, the post office doesn't have a mailbox document anymore.
No, the town had either an ordinance or a policy on mailboxes.
Well, they have right, but it doesn't meet the new mailbox standard at the post office, so we're gonna just have to create that
What
one
do you
based
mean?
off of their website.
It's called the mailbox replacement policy.
Oh, we don't
The
replace.
town
the
of
mailbox.
Georgia, yeah, but it should be in there.
No, it should be in there, yeah.
Says the town of Georgia does not replace mailboxes or anything else that is placed in the town right away and subsequently damaged or destroyed. Anything placed in the town right away requires a permit. We consider allowing mailboxes to be placed in the municipal right away a privilege and at the homeowner's risk. So that will need to get added. Trying to think of what other ones.
Basically, just reference, whatever the post office standard. If they change.
Well, as far as putting it up, yeah, but I think that little blurb needs to go in there so people understand that. Because it isn't even just referring to mailboxes. It could be, you know, your cooler that you leave out for your kid's lunch to get dropped in or whatever, you know. It's not the town's job to not hit it if it's in the right of way, you know? Tree cutting, that one's not in there. The vehicle overweight,
with the tree cutting.
well, there's a tree cutting policy. Did I get into that one? Tree cutting in town right away.
Working right away.
It refers to a whole lot of state statutes. It's written in 2007. Town of Georgia right-of-way clearing and tree cutting policies shall mirror the state statutes referenced in part below, and they give you a list of state statutes. That was very lame. That's the whole policy. Oh yeah, there is another one that's called mailbox installation. That's the one you were thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So vehicle overweight. We don't have that one in there. Let's see what that one says. Oh. That open. It's getting approval to run an overweight vehicle. Well, in this document, it says the highways are posted at 2,400 pounds. And overweight permits are required for loads in excess of 2,400 pounds.
That's gonna be 24,000.
Or 24,000, yeah, sorry. All trucks must follow posted routes. Town highways to be used for local deliveries and pickups only, no through traffic. Blah, 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 no overweight trucks on town highways between March 1 and April 30, except by special permit filed 48 hours in advance. Contact the road foreman, and they even have a phone number in here. Who knows if it's correct? So that'll have to get incorporated.
Is there a date as for that document?
That's a 2021 document. Fresh. Let's see.
Carol's new select board vote, but she just pulled up every one of these things. She kind of. So. We'll go on with that. Figure out what else we have.
So there is one, it's called, weird, the Georgia roadway policy. Tells you right what it is. It is the policy for roads to be conveyed to and maintained by the town as town highways and to upgrade class 4 town roads. That is the title. Very long. But it talks about what has to be done to a road if you're turning it over to the town, and I don't think that's, I mean, there's a little bit in there about.
We hit 876 standards now. So that's-
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is something.
So do we just? Okay. Not like the town is looking for new roads, but it should be provided somewhere. So maybe we can just add a line saying if you're upgrading the road to. For the town to take it over, that you have to meet those standards also.
Which is what we already have on the private roads. It would be
Oh,
anything
it's true.
maybe pre-existing.
Yeah,
Already in
there's
these
lots of
things.
pre-existing.
Yeah,
Okay. That one won't matter too much.
this 3 acre roll out. That's.
Well, that and the culvert going into the industrial park, that was a Like, why do we own that road, you know?
It's part of the park, right? We're involved in that park.
Didn't own the road, in my
So-
opinion. Okay. That's all I have. I think I went through the rest and I think that they're in there.
Can we back up to sidewalks? I know that we initially had started talking about sidewalks, but we really didn't go through any of the policies here. Do we want to? I feel as though, I know that there was a question about the private sidewalks, but I feel like we're putting the onus on the applicant or the residents or the business owners for private driveway standards, private road standards. We should also include private sidewalk standards as well. If anything, it just gives them guidelines.
Well, we have sidewalk standards in our regulations. If you're building them, you know, along a road, even if it's a private road, you know, there's standards for South Village sidewalks and standards for outside of the South Village.
Right.
But I feel like we're not regulating the sidewalk they put around their building.
So this is for the business or South Village district only?
No,
No.
like, there's other businesses in this building here has sidewalks.
Yeah.
You know, but our regulations don't say anything about sidewalks around buildings because they're not ours. I don't know why they don't, but they don't. And we do have a sidewalk policy, which is not in here. Our sidewalk policy, I can summarize it for you. It basically says if you have sidewalk on your property, it's yours to maintain and you will keep it well maintained. And if it cracks or breaks or gets damaged, you will fix it at your expense and you will keep it clear in the winter and yada, yada, yada.
Sorry.
So that goes to
Yeah.
all this other language.
So that one is
Yeah,
not
I've
included
got-
in here.
Well, I've got the whole sidewalk policy in my copy that wasn't included in
Oh,
your
okay,
copy. So
okay.
that's why I'm like, why didn't we
Because
talk
we're
about?
We're still working on it.
Okay, so next time we'll talk about.
Okay, so the rest will get updated and, you know, some of this stuff you should run by Todd because
Well, Todd's gonna go through. the
is their
doc.
winter policy still what
Yeah.
it is? You
Yeah.
know, who knows if the road has changed which priorities and the hours they work and all that good stuff, so want to make sure that's. current.
Along the sidewalk, do you want to add any other information? I know coming up, for instance, we've got a sidewalk that's gonna go through a wetland. And how they're gonna, do we wanna establish criteria? How do you want that?
Who's
done?
doing the sidewalk for the wetland?
That's gonna happen over on Sandy Bridge Road. To make that connection, it's gotta go through, it's gonna have to get bridged through,
Oh, when he does the next phase.
right?
Oh, gotcha.
To connect the sidewalk, you're gonna have to have bridge or something. I
Yeah.
don't know if we wanna set, do you wanna set a guideline for that, as far as what it look like, or you just wanna, because most of what we have is just on the mix.
Right.
They're supposed to be. a
I
certain way.
don't think that we, you know, because you look at the ditch / wetland on 104A that a sidewalk would have to cross. It's like 12 feet deep. So it's gonna look very different than one that's crossing a wetland that's at ground level, you know. I'm sure the design is gonna be, I think it needs to be designed by somebody that knows sidewalk design, but other than that, I don't think we wanna spell out that it has to be a bridge versus, you know. He's gotta get a permit, so if the state allows him to do 6 giant culverts in a row or some silly thing, then,
Well, this permit, it's a permit's gonna be anywhere. It's not a state road.
no, the wetland, he'll have to have a permit to go in to
Right.
disturb the wetland.
Does the Agency of Natural Resources have any guidelines for the bridges? Pathways through these wetlands?
Or if you're gonna allow different materials when you get to that point. I think that was gonna be, yeah, 150 feet.
Yeah, I mean, if he's gotta do a bridge of some sort, it's not gonna be concrete.
West Virginia does. I always thought we should talk to Milton or Fairfax or both, because I don't know who they worked with to design their sidewalk, but they both did some very creative sidewalk building. Looks like A&R has some design standards. So it's on the V-Trans page.
So just uniform width then, basically.
I think it could be a different surface if they're making a bridge. We're not gonna make them put concrete necessarily.
The regulations say nothing can be built in wetlands or buffers. So where's the,
Oh, there's always a workaround, always a workaround. Like in Russell Green Natural Area, it's all raised. You know, we have trails through the wetlands, but they're all raised. They're posts, so they're. So that's how I would assume the sidewalk would be over there.
Right.
And, you know, Milton built one behind a guardrail. That was just really freaky to me that they did that. And it's held up and people use it. So anything else on that?
No, just keep
Take
moving
another
away.
stab at it in a
Back
couple
to
weeks,
more.
okay?
Definitely a work in progress.
Yeah, but we made a lot. There was a group, Todd and Amber and I, and were you in that group that worked on it? We used to meet during the day.
On sidewalk standards,
No, the whole roads, trying to combine all the road documents. It was a couple years ago now. I think maybe you did it too.
I had the time off, I think so.
That's what I was thinking. It was somebody that could meet during the day. All right, we got next. Minutes. Okay, minutes from Tuesday, May 9th.
so what program are we using for minutes now?
It is the Civic Plus meeting and agenda software. It's, yes. With a. What is it?
Unicode.
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 So basically. What you, I don't know if everybody found the link to the new stuff right now. Once the new website is up, it's all gonna be on one page. This is just kind of a way I could make it work in the meantime, but everything will be publicly viewed, so public can download the entire board packets, they can, the minutes, the board packets, the agendas, the video, everything goes up. If you click into that, it's all gonna be on one page. Right now, it's just in a list form that you can go through, so in your packets, you can just go out and download the packet, it's all right there, so it's a lot faster from our side. To build these, so it makes a big difference.
All right, let's good comments on the minutes.
I have comments incorrect. It's a few of them. Section 1, select board is spelled incorrectly and is 2 words.
Oh, here's this.
3A under strengths, just for consistency, land use is the L in land use is capitalized, S is capitalized in energy, the E in energy is lowercase. Under weaknesses, the H in habitat lowercase and act should be capital A for act because it is the legislature. The line on the next page should be reworded. The housing section needs language around manufactured homes, something like included as they should be treated as single-family homes. Kind of what are we doing? What's the problem? So changing that. The next line, ADU, multi-using housing, S100. Give you more
I think that should
information.
be multi-unit housing.
Yeah.
And,
S should be capitalized.
yeah, that should be,
Under fiscal development and land use, the E on enhanced is lowercase. View sheds is one word. The U in updating should be capitalized. May 30th, essentials of land should be capitalized, use, capitalized, planning, training. Under the village designation, South Village, instead of can, to get new town center, language would need to be added or need to be in the town plan. So just kind of rewording that first part of the sentence. Town will need a plan for municipal water and sewer. The S and sewer does not need to be capitalized. Then under B, NRPC, I don't think we get much of a budget for $20 or much done for $20. So the period should be a comma. And then 20,000 to 25,000 for a town plan update or rewrite. It's, we have a plan, just doesn't want it to seem like it's not there. So include some kind of verbiage to notify it's an update or rewrite. Next page. FEMA flood hazard maps. The first step is a working map meeting to review maps and recommend changes or to correct errors. So that's the main point of that one is errors. And then 2 years from the meeting, bylaws. Our bylaws already, I believe, meet the regulations, but I believe that 2 years is when the maps will be like confirmed or validated. Or put approved.
well, I think she was just saying that everybody's bylaws have to comply at that time.
So then maybe
Ours should.
rewording that to do that, make that clear. And see on the agenda, ethics policy, but we did not go over that. And then there is did not include the motion to exit deliberative. We need a motion to go in. We didn't get a motion to get out. Deliberative session. Or it's not included in the minutes. Those were mine.
Yeah. You didn't find anything?
I rely on Emily.
Emily is a very good reader. I'm always happy when I can find something that she missed. All right, I will take a motion to approve the minutes with corrections.
So moved.
Well, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I assume that we didn't do our ethics policy because the town's working on ethics policy for everything. We're supposed to do that at the next board meeting. So we'll see. What do we want to do at our next meeting? Do we know anything about this Barry Lemke and Housing for All?
No.
Housing for All's mission is to create dynamic workforce housing developments that provide positive impacts to communities while utilizing designs that incorporate green building practices, sustainable materials, architecturally significant multifamily living environments. Their focus is creating and preserving high-quality workforce rental communities.
Give a definition of what workforce includes.
Did you say rental communities?
Yes, there
Workforce
won't
is
be
just,
much preserving in this town, but maybe we can create some.
workforce is just anybody who works, or workforce like.
I
traveling
don't know
nurses,
if they
seasonal
like work
traveling.
with a business to build, like the hospitals building their own. Says working on opportunities to give working class wage earners the ability to live in an amenity rich apartment community. Use all the big words. With first rate school districts.
Similar to the housing up in Sheldon there, you had the company housing.
Yeah, years ago, a lot of
Almost
businesses
same.
did it, yeah. Slightly different look, but. You lived in a mill town, everybody lived in a mill house, whatever it was, right? So do you want this guy to come and talk to us? You think he's got anything that would help us?
Anything, just another perspective or an additional view, never hurts to have that. Not everything may be applicable, but it's still, it's good to hear what's going on in different theories.
Yeah, well, I assume if he's coming to talk to us, then he probably is gonna look at a little bit about what our town is like before he comes to talk to us, so he doesn't give us.
And GIDC build the housing for the employees in the park there. How many houses we can get Torgo to build?
So we want to try and get him at one of our meetings in June?
Yeah.
Okay. And then at the other meeting, we can look at this road document again, right? And what's our next thing on our list?
We can get,
We know that out, I don't have that.
we won't get approval in the select board until the day before your next meeting. So we won't have any of that yet.
Right.
So that'll be-
Well, that's why I thought if we talk to this other guy, be working on something to do with the town plan at least. But we've got that list there.
And try to see if we can schedule a meeting with those representatives on moving forward on some of the grants and village designations. So I'm not sure what their meeting schedule is like, so.
Those guys that you mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah. So I'll have to, we're gonna be reaching out to them and see if we can get a meeting with them, but I have no idea what their timeline is like, so. May end up being like a Zoom meeting or something like that, I have to have it for the day, so.
When do you usually post the packets? Is that,
Typically, well, it depends on what we have going in,
I know, yeah, the
so.
select board usually meet right before we do, so it's like the
Yeah,
morning of
well-
our meeting, basically, or?
Select board has been not getting approved till Thursday or Friday before the meeting. This one, I think we put out Monday or Tuesday this past week. Or last week, I think it went out. We had it, because we're also working on this change over to this new site, so it kind of.
Yeah.
Where it got posted, but, we try to have them out like that Monday or Tuesday, I try to get them up.
Yeah, this one was sent yesterday morning, this packet.
Yeah, but it was on the
Yeah, but it's
website.
Oh, yeah, it's on
It was on the
email.
website prior to that.
So- I didn't find it.
No, I didn't see
Doug
it till
came in
today.
here and helped me find it because I had no idea.
I didn't see it till today, but then I guess I got your email and then I don't know how I got to that page, but I was able to get to that page where you could see
Yeah,
the agenda packet and the video.
yeah. So we're kind of moving forward on everything. So we're trying to, the municipal code now, this part of it is finished and running. We're still probably about a month away from the website
Hmm.
getting to a point that it's operational. Then we incorporate everything into the new website and everything will go up online by hopefully August 1st is what we're shooting for.
So if you're on the website, it's over on this side,
Right.
not over here where we normally look for it. So it's, town board.
Yeah, yes, okay, that's
It's
right.
also, there's also
Yeah.
a link in the big header.
I did not figure that out.
So we'll just have to keep an eye out and look for our own packets. We won't be notified. Nobody will send it
And
to
as
us.
soon as you get used to that, we'll change over to the new website.
So we'll get no notification that a packet is ready. We have to go look.
Typically within 5 days before, which I think is what is, you
But
know.
we're not gonna
Yeah,
be
as soon as
notified.
we
We
can,
have to go look.
Could you shoot us an email when you put it on?
yeah, we can shoot an email when we put it up there. That's not a problem.
I think that,
When the new one,
Yeah,
when the new
especially
site goes up,
people
we'll
like
put it up
Greg
there.
who are like, you know, who knows where he is, so he remembers that we have a meeting.
right.
In the olden days, when planning was DRB, people literally wouldn't come to meetings if they didn't get an email. You know, because there was no packet, some of our meetings, we had no packet, and so they'd say, what, I never got a packet or an email, like, but it was on your calendar.
You still have to, with that board, I think this board, everybody but Greg is using the town email, to my knowledge. Are you using it?
I have a problem.
I worked with your IT director.
Been on this board for 23 years. The packets were either delivered to my house or mailed to my house. We have never changed that policy.
In your
I
job
believe you
description,
have.
it says that you mail them to them. The job description they posted last night, just letting you know,
Or,
zoning administrator.
I mean, I'm the town dummy when it comes to computers. I touch it, it's ruined. I don't own one, I don't have a website, and my wife is not my secretary.
you did reach out as your IT director.
We did not change the policy for doing that. She was the last one to do it.
I mean, we can print them, I can print one and have one here for you, I'm not delivering. So
Put it in the mail.
we can, I can put it.
She
in the-
delivered it. She had the option. She could deliver it or she could mail it. I don't know.
If you're doing it
What to
5
do.
days before, it's gonna get to them,
Yeah.
so. We used to have some issues with
I mean,
not getting.
I come here and I have nothing. So,
I had a question.
Yes,
Hey, Kevin.
Sorry. I wanted to make sure that it's on your radar about the redo of the required feasibility study from Greta's meeting.
who's that?
Kevin,
Kevin Smith.
the feasibility study.
I don't know what you're referring to.
What are you referring to, Kevin?
During the presentation by Greta, part of being prepared for the designation stuff, there was needed to be a redo of the feasibility study that was done in 2019 because it's old. In the past, the town has missed the opportunity on a grant fund, and this fall, the grant is available to redo the feasibility study. So maybe at minute 40 or 41, she talks about that in the video online that you have posted from the meeting of the 9th. And I just want to make sure that we get that on radar. You know, the fall isn't that far away. It's a few short months. Number one. And number two, has anybody received the email that Greta said she would give us of an overview of her notes?
Nope,
No, and she went on vacation after, 2 days after our meeting, so.
So if you guys could check on that note that she gave us about having to redo this feasibility study to be prepared for any potential designation that the town wants to move forward for, and she discussed that
The
around.
feasibility of water and sewer or?
the sewer one I thought was from early 2000s and the South Village transportation was newer.
Yeah, it is. But I don't remember what feasibility study she's talking about, but we'll look into it.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
And the only thing she had sent over was that scope of work. She didn't even mention the rest of
Did
it.
you get a note of what minute he said it was at?
41.
41? Do I ever watch it? This is on, was he on CCTV or is he on YouTube? The YouTube?
Not LCA TV one.
I've never done this. Let's check it out. With no internet, so planning from May 9th. Forty-one.
41.
Oh. Hold on. You're
Yeah, the alternatives were and what the next steps were and whether there was an alternative identified. And you would need to redo it. So you could apply for funding from the state to review that feasibility study using today's dollars and today's science and yeah, so I think there's a lot of momentum around. And this wouldn't be them. You wouldn't receive the momentum around the liquid water solution because that's for historic villages, but still, I think that in an effort to pursue a new town center designation, that conversation and that.
So that was the early
So it's
2000s.
wastewater one.
Well, is it the wastewater one? There's also a bicycle and pedestrian feasibility.
No,
study.
she mentioned wastewater
She did
eventually.
that. Yeah, I mean, those were 2005.
She kept saying, oh, you can just become a new town center, and I was like, yeah, just like South Burlington, because we're right up there on the same page there. If you read anything online about new town centers, everybody says, don't do it unless you're a large municipality, it's a heck of a lot of.
Not many of them.
I think
There's
only a
like
couple,
3, maybe 4.
yeah,
Berlin's conditional. I don't know if that changed.
very few. So, I did pull up the list of things we're working on here. Junk ordinance are done, temporary structures, short-term rentals. Colleen found out how many short-term rentals we have in Georgia, a lot. That might be something we need to work on sooner rather than later. Definition of development, what docs we're working on,
Temporary structures.
how to encourage more affordable housing, forest blocks and connectors, that's in the one. regulating apartment size, senior housing. Food trucks, PUDs and L1 and L2 zone.
What the houses go for that were developed on Dunsamore's?
Somewhere
Initially.
in 360,
It's
360,
350,
360, yeah, somewhere in that ballpark
350?
or higher, yeah.
Affordable.
So the report that just came out on affordability for housing across the country. And according to the report, 2.6% of your household income is what's affordable for you for housing. Which was in Vermont was through like early, just around 2000, we hit the 2.6 level. We're now at 5.2. Which is basically unaffordable at that point. A lot of states, some of the states are into 12 or 18 times. But there weren't many states left that were in the 2.6 range. We're at 5.2 currently. So.
Here are some tiny houses, that's on our list. I talked to,
This is all stuff that needs to get incorporated in the town plan.
there, well,
Discussed.
either town plan or regulations around, there are things that we've run into as we have hearings on the DRB, and it's like, oh, we don't regulate that, or we should regulate that, or we need to change that.
We're getting a
Who's the
ton of
guy that
calls.
we worked with last time on the town plan? Taylor?
I wasn't here for that,
Oh.
but yeah,
Taylor, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know why I contacted him. Someone sent me to him. Looking into yurts and tiny houses, and we emailed back and forth, but he said he doesn't know any town around that has any actual zoning regulations around it, but the concept is out there to, you know, allow multiple dwelling units on one lot, if they're all tiny houses, you know, under a certain size, and they could either share septic and water, or have a central building that has their septic and water, and they're just, you know,
so how do
sleeping.
we differentiate between that and a campground?
Or, yeah, glamping.
Right,
It's almost similar to those little houses that they put up down in Burlington.
yeah, the pods,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Well, hopefully a tiny house is slightly nicer than the pod, but,
But the concept,
yeah, the idea,
They're
they
clustered.
just have
community
bedrooms,
center,
and they have a building they go to take a shower and cook or whatever, so, yeah. So, you know, but I think there's
The rate of
a,
houses.
there's a
they're
contingent
costing.
of people that are living in them at this point. Whether they're living sort of off the grid, trying not to get noticed or whatever, but, it's a more affordable option for people. Certainly, you know, if you're, 20 years old and you just need a place to sleep, you work all day, you don't need a giant house. You can't afford a 4-bedroom house, you know, and that's what they build around here, so gives you another option. And yurts too, there's people that live in yurts, and there's, it's Morrisville or some town around here that has run into problems because they've got people living in yurts and they have composting toilets, and they're saying they can't have composting toilets. I don't know, the state has a lot of different types of wastewater systems other than your standard septic tank or mountain, so I don't know what else is got.
That, or I also vote temporary structures. Because we don't have a definition, and it's getting close to pool season, well, it's just my blow up pool. Well, certain towns, more than 10 days a year, that's
But
not temporary. The greenhouse, there's a really
pools aren't our big thing, it's these canvas
chintzy,
garages
Yeah.
or.
chintzy greenhouses that,
What do you call those big shipping containers, you know, all those kind of things that just get integrated into people's landscape.
There are
but-
certain fences around here that are temporary, that have been up
Oh,
for
yeah, one at Bob's Gun Shop,
maybe.
been temporary for a couple, 3 years.
That's my vote. is that-
So, yeah, I guess, but that goes with enforcement. Doug's into enforcement now, right?
Part of the job, right?
We've gotten, yeah, quite a few, zoning violations, calls and complaints, so.
I noticed that, the doctor there on, Ballard Road, it's the farm right there, as you turn onto Ballard Road, and it's 2 grandsons built houses,
Oh, yeah.
can't think of their name, but Gilman,
The
Gilman,
Gilman Farm?
yeah. So he's got boulders, so he's not supposed to be mowing, he stopped mowing beyond the boulders. I don't know if somebody, was wondering if you talked to him.
I hadn't talked to him.
Maybe it's just too wet right now or something, but he mowed it all last year. And everybody always commented on it, but I just went by tonight and he hasn't mowed beyond the boulder, it's all grass, so maybe you got the message.
Big Red Barn did not. There is a camper that has been parked there for.
And running their Airbnb camper, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Not on Sunset, it's on Heritage Drive.
no, there's an RV.
Oh, another one on Sunset. Oh, the sales
Well, they rent.
or whatever it is, yeah, rental. Crazy. So,
Some but rogue signs that, maybe they got sign permits, but.
yeah, there are a lot of, well, one of the things that I think we need to add to our list is I don't know what you call them, flags that are signs. You know what I'm talking about? They're long poles and you put them together and you have a long
Feather
sign
sign.
like this.
Feather.
Is that what they're called, feathers? Well, there's a lot of people that use that, it's one thing to put them out when you're having a sale and you want to attract attention for a couple of days. But it's another thing to use them as your permanent signs and have them out all the time. And because they're not regulated, you can, there's one business that I used recently and it really blocks your view trying to get out of this place because it's got this sign and you're like, car coming, can't quite tell because the flag's flopping around. You never got a sign permit, so it's kind of like the trailer that's a sign. So maybe we should define sign a little better.
Add that to the list.
That's gonna. What do you call them? Feathers?
Yeah, feather sign.
So. Other than working on the road document, what else do you want to work on next time?
Next time is in 2 weeks or second Tuesday.
Yes, second Tuesday. Unless he happens to be able to get Barry Lemke to come. But I'm thinking that's kind of close, so.
Then I vote for the definition of temporary.
Okay, we can work on the definition of temporary and maybe sign. Those are 2 things that we can work on. We'll have to solve them that night.
So do you want to switch over to the development, right?
Well,
I have like whole piles.
other stuff is
Yeah,
like,
I have a whole folder that's, as we find things.
I'm just thinking, we can't work on the town plan if we haven't got the approval from the select board and hired somebody, or, if Barry Lemke can come, then that's great, but otherwise we'll just swap and do the town plan on the second.
Yeah, so we can probably have updates for this document ready for that if he's not there, so that.
So that's not gonna take us a whole meeting, right?
Good.
So we'll work on that plus one of these other things or something out of your folder.
Okay. So I just need to know, so if you want to put development regs, I'll put that on the agenda for development reg updates.
Okay. So you're just gonna give us a list. So are these things that we're gonna do as interim?
There's no interim, like you have to make a whole change to the development, right? So I didn't know what you want to do on a schedule on that, so.
Well, there is interim, if we're doing a certain thing, but if we're making a whole bunch of changes, then
There's, when I check, there's no,
There is, they just don't recommend these. Highly recommended not.
so I feel like we're opening,
We can work on the regs,
we
but
can
not
work on the regs.
have
but
drafts ready to plug in when the time comes. That's what we did with the
it'll be a
cannabis
long time,
regulations.
yeah. We can pluck away at them. But some of these other things we might be able to. So say we define temporary or sign, can we just add that to our regulations?
I think we'd probably want to wait until we have more
So
for substantial
all of these are just gonna get added to the list. so-
drafted and then
Okay,
I would assume plugged in when there's enough,
When the
when they
next
want to do a
change.
rewrite.
right,
okay,
So to have them waiting in the wings to plug in.
right, because there's like a list of definitions we don't get into, there's.
for some reason, a bunch of stuff seemed to have gotten left out, and I really don't know what happened there. That's mysterious to me.
We're gonna have some procedural changes, we're changing under that recommendation of the lawyers, we're gonna be changing the permitting process. As far as when people come in, they're gonna fill out a straight zoning permit. Is that what they're doing in Colchester?
What do you mean?
Zoning app.
A zoning just a straight zoning application, they're not filling out like. And then your ZA is not giving them whatever other application they need to go along with that.
The vast majority, except for signs, do a multi-purpose building and zoning permit.
So,
So they go under that and then
so we've pulled a bunch from. A lot of towns right now and trying to put together what's going to work the best, but we had a situation come up where. Somebody's opting not to use the correct permit, I'll say. But. The determination, the way we have them right now, the way it's been done for. Forever is we've had all the permits out there. But the recommendation is to have a single zoning application, and when that zoning application comes in. The ZA will then make a decision as to what application they need. To go for that zoning for whatever that application purpose is, and then that will get distributed out to them. So,
no, we just have one similar to what's here. Or was there one multi-purpose? It's captures most of the information. If we need more, we reach out, but
So this
Nothing
person has filled out a form that costs less, clearly, that's probably why they're doing
no,
it.
they filled out a form we don't even have.
They took a form and made it their own, but
Okay.
she was a lawyer, so it was okay.
But during the process of going through this, they came back and said, this is how it should be handled. And then when I looked at other towns, there are towns that do it like we do it, and there's towns that do it like they're saying. But I guess it kind of makes sense, when I had the conversation, it kind of makes sense that it basically brings the control back in, so because the state statute, is the ZA makes that determination. Right now, the way we're doing it, they want to, a lot of the people we have would know, like, they need a conditional use application, or they need a site plan, and they would do that application. This would eliminate that, and they would fill out one application, and then do a site plan, we would send them what other information they would need for the site plan, or conditional use, or.
more of an inquiry than a permit application.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's exactly what he's recommending. So,
Makes sense.
it does make sense, and I've seen towns that are doing it both ways, so it doesn't seem to be consistent across the boards. But until we had this situation, I don't think it was ever an issue, so.
Okay. So you'll find us stuff to do, and you're gonna contact Barry and try to get him to come and talk to us. and whoever those other guys are that we talked about. I don't remember what their names are at this point,
Yeah, that'll be another joint meeting.
Right, some other
with Select
time.
board as well.
but. Okay. So, anything else?
I have some questions I'd like to ask in deliberative.
Okay, we'll move us into deliberative.
We enter deliberative session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everyone, for the time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.